So it's obvious that Tony Khan has a bit of an issue going on right now, as we've all discussed many times over. And it seems that the one thing he wanted to make AEW all about pretty much is backfiring in his face. I mean, don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. Some of the wrestling is some of the best you're going to see. I mean, you got the likes of Will Ospreay, Ray Phoenix. Rumors have it that you possibly could have Ricochet there, but that's still yet to be seen because for all we know, he's probably staying with WWE and he's just taking an extended break, wedding, honeymoon, you name it. And now there's speculation that he might make one or two more appearances before his actual current contract that is, expires. But again, we don't know what the aftermath will be. But with that said, he's got the likes of a Will Ospreay, a Ray Phoenix. He's got, Swerve Strickland, Samoa Joe, Chris Jericho when, he's able to go and everything. He's got a lot of great talent. Don't get me wrong. Within the AEW house, Claudio, formerly Cesaro, if you will, Jon Moxley, you name it. Bryan Danielson, whose contract's up in September and what his future holds afterwards is up in the air. He's got a lot of talent and even some future talent that's going to be, like the cornerstone of pro wrestling sports entertainment. Will Yuta, he's got Brian Keith. Who else is he got? He's got Kyle Fletcher. I mean, the list could go on and on and on. He's got Takashita, if you will. I'm sorry if I butchered the name there. But he's got a lot of great talent. And he's trying out, and let's not deny, he and whoever he's put in charge of these divisions, they're trying some new directions, for certain wrestlers, men and women. I mean, I know people crap on the Jericho Learning Tree deal, and yeah, it may not be from what everybody's saying. It may not be the best gimmick or the best reinvention of himself in a while, and it feels like he's just grasping for straws. So, I'm not going to say any more than that, but, at least, for better or worse, at least Jericho is being allowed to try something new. You got Chris Statlander, who's becoming the bad girl. Basically, hey, I'm about my, she's going and doing the I'm about myself, no one else kind of gimmick that we've seen numerous times, which, let's be honest, at the end of the day, when we've seen this, I'm all about me, nobody else. I'm only watching out for me or nobody else. We know that kind of gimmick doesn't last long, and the person that does that goes back to being a face. So this is just an evolutionary part for her character to where she probably will go back to being a face, but it will be a balance outing of who she was as a face and who she is as a heel, to where it's like, hey, we're friends, but if you got championship gold, that friendship's out the window because I want that gold. That's basically what I think it's going to lead to where if she goes back to being a face, which I think a lot of people feel she will, and let's say she reunites with Willow, she's going to let Willow know, basically, hey, we're friends again. I know I'm going to have to earn back your trust, but I'm going to let you know straight up, our friendship may be back on, but if you become a champion again, or you want the same championship I do, that friendship has to be put on hold. So I could see something like that happening. And then, of course, you got the Elite, the Bucks, doing what they're doing, embracing on screen their EVP status and trying to abuse their power, trying to run roughshod over, AEW and try to, let's be honest, try to basically emphasize that AEW always has been about them and no one else because of the name being in the middle of the company name itself. So you got all these men and women that compete in the ring trying out, some new gimmicks, some new personas and everything to help, I guess you could say revitalize their career or, keep their career going, as long as they can. And that's great. And again, along with that, some of these people that are doing it are some of the best currently that compete in the ring, so there's no arguing that, but here's the thing. Despite all that, the one complaint is the stories. I mean, some people will say, well, you do have stories here and there. You have Willow kind of getting ready to, go into maybe a very, violent feud. Excuse me, a very violent feud with Chris Statlander, and try to maybe knock some sense into her, get her back to being the old Chris again, and such things like that. You got, potential of Mercedes and, what she'll do. I mean, a lot of people are expecting Rebecca Quinn to show up, but let's be honest, that's not going to happen. Everybody knows it. But, there is that speculation Mercedes could face the likes of Camille. And Camille could be, instead of a bodyguard, her opponent, and then that's who takes the TBS title off her. Who knows? So you got all different little stories here and there, which, if done right, could really get people talking. But again, that's the weak aspect right now, is you say you have the stories, we see you have them, but the thing that's holding them back is you're not letting it, really, grow. You're not letting it really simmer and come to a boil to where it can actually get people's attention. Because your main focus, your main priority, if you're Tony Khan, is the pro wrestling, whether it makes sense or not. I mean, JD put in his thumbnail last night when he and Jesse, Chi-Town Smart on Twitter, when him and Heel Jesse were reviewing Dynamite, his thumbnail basically said, "Where's the story?" Because here you have the Elite coming out during the show, and basically saying that they are issuing a challenge to AEW's top 5 best. And obviously Swerve's going to be on that team AEW, but then you take a look at who else could be, and there's a possibility that now it could be the Acclaimed and Billy Gunn, but then who rounds that out? Right? We don't know. Could it be Danielson again? Could it be Moxley? Could it be someone new? Could it be a Ricochet? We don't know. But Ricochet's contract isn't up till July, maybe August. And like I said, for all we know, he's probably going to stay. But again, that's up in the air depending on what you believe. But yeah, he was like, okay, where's the story for the Blood and Guts match, which is, their answer to War Games? Where's the blood? Where's the story? Where's going to be the ultimate payoff when this is all said and done? Because again, you got the Elite coming out and saying, hey, we want to challenge AEW's best. You got Swerve on one side, maybe with the Acclaimed and Billy Gunn, but then who's going to be the 5th member? Now, I will admit, if done right, they can make the mystery of that 5th member seem very intriguing. Because you don't know who it could be out of that AEW locker room. Could it be a Danielson again? Could it be an MJF? We don't know. We don't know. Could it be a Hangman Page? But then there's that question of, okay, if we bring in Hangman, is he going to turn or is he going to go against? What is it going to be? No one really knows. But if they play it out right, like, hey, you'll have to find out who the 5th man is on the night of Blood and Guts, then yeah, that'll get people wanting to tune in, because at least it helps, at least it's progressing, somewhat of a story, going into that match, because people will be invested somewhat as to trying to find out, okay, who's going to get that 5th spot on Team AEW. You have stories that have potential, and like I said, if done right, could get people talking. And like I said, the mystery of a 5th member for Team AEW, and I apologize for that notification there. Sorry about that vibration you may have heard. That was a notification coming through. I do apologize. But like I said, the potential of, figuring out who could be that 5th member, it could, if done right, could get people's attention. It could get people to tune in to see what happens on Dynamite, what happens on Rampage, what happens on Collision. It could get people talking. But, again, it's all on them. It's all on them to try to, make that work. It's all on them to try to, make that work, in the long run. Now, look, like I said, the story aspect, the potential to, make certain stories that they say they have, that the defenders say they have, the potential is there to make them work. But it's up to Tony and his crew to make it happen. It's up to him and his crew to make it happen. And right now, as far as Tony is concerned, he'd rather focus on the in-ring wrestling than anything else. And again, nothing wrong with that. Because let's be honest, he made it perfectly clear when AEW began 5 years ago, it's about the wrestling, more than the story. It's about what you see in the ring take place than what surrounds it, or what is involved in what takes place in the ring match-wise. So he's more about the wrestling, if it makes sense or not. He's more about that. And that right now 5 years ago, 5 years ago, 4 years ago, 3 years ago, that might have worked. That might have been something that, got people to tune in and enjoy AEW over the likes of WWE. But now it's a different playing field. It's a different ball game. And as I and others have talked about before, Tony Khan's not going up against Vince McMahon anymore. He's going up against Triple H. He's going up against Triple H. He's going up against Nick Khan. He's going up against freaking TKO. And they are not here to play softball. They are not here to play games. They are here to dominate. They are here to win. They are here to establish that it don't matter if you're on the second biggest cable network, in the world, the second biggest cable distributor in the world. Basically at the end of the day, you are nothing but a distant number 2, if not a distant number 3 behind, the recent new partner, TNA, that being WWE. So yeah, basically Tony Khan has to realize that. And myself and others have, mentioned this over and over and over again. And the way he needs to realize that is to change things. He needs to stop being about the wrestling, putting wrestling matches on for the sake of, let's put so-and-so together because they can put on a great banger of a match. No, he needs to stop focusing on that and balance things out to where you have stories. And I do apologize for that notification again. I do apologize for that. You have stories, if you will, that basically connect with what will happen in the ring. And they used to have that. Although the wrestling was more emphasized than the stories that would lead into it, they used to have it. And everything. But now it's like they've lost that edge. And again, it's all because of the fact that Tony Khan, I think, honestly, is not realizing that things have changed. And if he has to realize things have changed, he's not taking it easily, as easily as he should, because he doesn't know what to do. He doesn't know what he's going to put on, to get people invested into watching his product over what is seen in, the competition. He doesn't know what to do. I mean, when you make a comparison of putting, let's say, a War Games match together, guess what WWE has done recently over the years? And they even did this back in NXT. They build towards that War Games. They hint War Games is going to happen, and these are going to be the participants. AEW, when they started doing Blood and Guts, hinted at that as well, but now they've lost their way to the point it's like, okay, we got to put on a Blood and Guts match. Let's put something together that builds to it. It's like, what sense does that make? What sense does that make, huh? I mean, it would make a lot of sense that if from the very beginning, when the Elite started doing this whole EVP, NEO, NWO kind of stuff, it would have made more sense if all of a sudden, throughout that time, you saw other AEW stars standing against them. Thus, you would get a hint of who would be in the Blood and Guts War Games match against them. But you're not seeing that. Now, what I'm trying to say is you're not seeing that. And now you're only seeing it because, Blood and Guts is scheduled to come up in a few weeks. We need to have something. You see, this is where Tony Khan and his team need to wake up and realize things have changed. I mean, you got people criticizing the fact that he's not pushing Swerve Strickland, who's a multimedia star, by the way, a wrestler who's a multimedia star, not pushing him to his full potential, and all he's going to do is get ready to feed him to Will Ospreay, either at Forbidden Door, or if he holds off, at All In Wembley, and then that's it. And it's like, people question, why even put the title on Swerve? Why did you do that? What, to shut people up? Because they complained? Everything? You're like, okay, fine, I'll put it on Swerve just to shut you up. Here's something that I never thought I'd say, okay? Here's something that I and others have never thought they would say ever again. Even when Vince McMahon was running things, he would answer in his own subtle way. He would answer the question in his own subtle way as to why certain people were not made world champion when they should have been, or why certain people never got the world championship when they could have been or could have had it. You know what his answer always was? His answer was because they, in his eyes, and not just his eyes, but others' eyes, were not ready for that mantle. They weren't ready for that, position just yet. That yes, they admitted they are on a hot streak. They are, killing it. There's no doubt. The popularity is through the roof, but they're not there yet. They're not at that ceiling yet, if you will. And sometimes, yes, WWE through Vince would try to, test those waters to try to prove people wrong by saying, oh, yeah, so-and-so's ready. Watch, we'll prove it. And then they basically get it backfired in the face. I mean, let's look at the Roman Reigns experiment before they finally let him be who he is. That's a great example right there. And again, I do apologize for the notification there, the vibration. I do apologize for that. But, again, there's a good example of that there. You know what I'm saying? There's a good example of that there. The point is, whether we agreed with Vince or not, he knew, and he had people around him that made him know, yeah, this person, has momentum. This person is on a roll. And yes, they should be the world champion, but not yet. Not yet. I mean, I want you guys to think about this. How long did he hold off until AJ finally won the WWE Championship upon arriving? Did he give it to AJ right away? No. He held off on it until the time was right, and finally AJ got it. AJ got it, even though some people would say, well, only reason AJ got it is because nobody liked Jinder Mahal being champion. Yeah, that's true. That might be true. But the thing is, AJ still got it, and they waited 6-7 months. And I do apologize for that notification there, guys. I do apologize. But they waited 6-7 months, before they did any of that. They could have easily strapped it on him right away, knowing the momentum he had. But they said, no, we're going to wait. And the patience paid off. If you know what I mean. And yeah, one of the reigns didn't last too long. You got fed to Cena, but still, you get the point that I'm saying. They didn't rush into it. Now you might say, well, they didn't rush into it with Swerve here. Yeah, they didn't rush into it or anything, but the difference between AJ and Swerve, and it's not because of the race. Let's put that out of the equation. The difference, though, is Vince waited patiently to put it on AJ, and guess what? When he felt the time was right, when he was given the okay by his crew to do it, AJ becoming champion still was a big deal. People were excited. For the first time ever, Vince actually, at the suggestion of his crew, maybe even Triple H's son-in-law, put the championship on a guy that he swore would never enter his company, nor would ever win a championship, and that was a TNA guy. He did that, but he took his time. He let it simmer. I do apologize for the notification there again, guys. But he let it simmer. He gave it time, if you know what I mean. He gave it time. Swerve here, yeah, he had plenty of time before he built up. He had plenty of time built up for him to become champion. But Tony could have held off on it. He could have held off. He could have said, yeah, we're going to get Swerve a title match with Dynasty, but still, he didn't have to go through with it. He could have said, Swerve, you're going to be champion, but we're going to do it in front of 40,000, 50,000 people at Wimbledon all in. And that would have made it a bigger deal. You know why? Because you would have had 50,000 plus fans in Wimbledon behind Swerve, wanting to see that moment happen and be basically giving him a moment that people have been talking about. But he didn't want to do that. He didn't want to do that because why? Because he heard the criticism. And it showed you that he gave into the criticism too easily. He gave into it and said, okay, fine. You want him as your champion? Fine. I do apologize again for that notification. But like I said, he basically gave into it saying, hey, you want him as your champion? So be it. Here you go. And that's it. That's all they did. That's all that happened, in my opinion. I'm not saying Swerve doesn't deserve to be the world champion. He does. But I think if he would have waited to All in front of 50,000, 60,000 people, it would have been a lot better. The atmosphere would have been a lot more appropriate. No offense to the crowd in St. Louis. But you get what I'm saying. And again, I do apologize for that notification. I'm getting a lot of messages here. And I got another one. I do apologize. But you get what I'm saying. You get what I'm saying. And now, because of that, Tony has to come up with a different idea of, okay, what do I do for All In? Oh, I know. I'll just give Swerve a 3-month reign, and then I'll have him lose it to Will Ospreay, who's also a champion right now. It's like, what sense does that make? Huh? What sense does that make? It doesn't make no sense, right? It doesn't make no sense. I mean, if you want to put a championship on Ospreay right away, guess what? You could have just put the world championship upon his arrival. You put the international championship on him, and now you want to put the world title on him. You could have just swapped the international title out for the world title, have him be the one that beat Joe, and then have him drop the title to Swerve at Wembley. Basic booking 101, as some people would say. But he didn't do that. And now he's in a situation to where, he's in a situation where now he's either going to have Will win the championship of Forbidden Door and then drop it to Swerve or drop it back to Swerve or MJF at All In, or even Danielson at All In, which would entice Danielson to stay. Or he's going to hold off till All In, have Ospreay win the Owen Hart tournament, and then become champion. You kind of see what I'm saying here. It's like he didn't plan it out correctly. If he would have put the right pieces in the right places, for the right times, things wouldn't be so convoluted right now. But he didn't do that. And none of this makes sense. None of it. None of it makes sense. Which is why when people look at how he's booking things, they notice that the only thing he's strong at booking is the wrestling matches that have no story. They make no sense. So I don't know. If I'm Tony Khan, and I know I've said this millions of times, others have said this millions of times, but if I'm Tony Khan, I step away from this. I give it to somebody else to book and go from there and basically watch what the person that I give the power to booking creatively does and learn from that. Basically, I go from being someone that's running things to being an OJTer. In other words, an on-the-job trainee, if you know what I mean. An on-the-job trainee. So I can learn how it's done correctly. But he's not doing that. He's not doing that. But, guys, let me know what your thoughts are. Let me know what your thoughts are on Tony Khan focusing more on the wrestling instead of trying to balance it out like WWE does. Let me know down below in the comments or on the live chat during the premiere. I do apologize for the vibration notifications on here. That's just my messages, my texts coming in. So I do apologize for that. But guys, let me know what your thoughts are. And until then, I am out.